Welcome to Aphra's Artifacts, where we do some archaeology of our own and dig into the queer side of Star Wars. I'm your host, Alia Morgaine, and it's so great to have you here. Well, today we're talking about Eustacia Okka, Doctor Eustacia Okka, who happens to be a past flame of Dr. Aphra's. She's also an archaeologist, which is super cool, and she's dealt with some hard knocks in her life. We see her in the second run of the Dr. Aphra comic series, the one that takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and that is currently ongoing, but she's only in the first 5 issues. So, unfortunately, we don't get too much from her. There's so much more I want to know about her past, especially her past with Dr. Aphra. We do get a panel of them kissing, so that's really cool. But besides that, I don't know how long they were together. I don't really know what kind of relationship they had. Seems like it ended kind of rocky. But their relationship ends off on a good note in this arc of the Dr. Aphra comic series. So that's exciting. That's good. So who is Eustacia Okka? Well, she is a Mary Allen. And she, like I said, is a past flame of Dr. Aphra's when they were both attending the University of Barleth in archaeology. So they have a lot in common. And one of the things that they sort of have in common, except Aphra's situation is a little more on the unsavory side, is that Eustacia was studying the Rings of Vale. Super legendary, highly potent artifact. But the university that she worked at, that she was a professor at, the Shadow University, said that she was doing insufficient, credible academic research. So she was fired. And Aphra herself has come into some issues with her archaeology and people not believing her, but for good reason, because Aphra kind of faked her research. So it's not really something in common, but they have similar histories, which I think is really interesting and maybe is why they end up becoming friendly in the end of this arc. So, despite being expelled from the Shadow University, Eustacia still continues her work in archaeology, still continues to do research and field work and find out new things. She's very determined in that way. And she's a little defeated in regards to the Rings of Vale, but she gets an opportunity through Dr. Aphra to go after them after all. And it does not take much convincing for Eustacia to jump on board with Aphra's new crew. All it really takes is Aphra telling her that you'll get sole credit. If we find these Rings of Vale, I will give you sole credit for this. You will get your job back. You will be able to be a renowned researcher again. Everything will be great. And so Eustacia is just like, okay, that sounds good. And she joins the team. So I think although it seems like she's moved past the Rings of Vale in the beginning when we first meet her, I think she is definitely excited to be going after them in the end. Because it's her life's work. It's something she really, really cares about. So, simply being around Aphra is a dangerous situation. And as soon as Aphra comes back into Eustacia's life, there is a gunfight. Because on Aphra's crew is Just Lucky, who's a little bit gun happy. There's Detta, who, like Just Lucky, ends up betraying the crew in the end. although she kind of reforms a little bit, Just Lucky just straight up betrays them and runs off. And then Black Chrysanthemum is on the team. So Just Lucky, Black Chrysanthemum, Aphra, all hotheads. A gunfight, not an unlikely situation. It does happen. And part of what caused this gunfight to become an issue is that Ronan Tag, the one of the scions of the Tag family, a young man, who collects rare artifacts and incinerates them because he wants to be the last person to touch rare artifacts. He's a creepy, creepy dude. So he wants Eustacia to help him find the Rings of Vale. But she refuses. She refuses outright. She's, like I said, she's a very confident, determined woman. She's like, no, this isn't for you. I don't want you to have anything to do with this. So, no. And because Black Chrysanthemum, Aphra, and Just Lucky are in the room, gunfire breaks out. So, the Rings of Vale, just a little bit about them. They are said to be heavily cursed, and they're found on Dianth in the Lost City of Vale. And the Lost City of Vale ends up being a super horror-adjacent kind of situation. They hear weird noises. They have hallucinations. The floors are falling in. It's pretty crazy. And I do want to back up a second. This is a little bit of an insight into how Eustacia sees Aphra and how she sees Tag. So she's talking to Aphra and says, Tag was a fool to trust you, and now he's a fool with a vendetta. I won't allow him to interfere with my research and destroy the rings. Because like I said, he destroys all artifacts that he touches. And Aphra then comments, you act like this is all my fault. Eustacia, isn't it always? So clearly something happened. I want to know what happened. I want to know what the bad thing was that happened in their past. And maybe we'll never know. But it would be really cool. I mean, they wrote a whole book about Sana and Aphra, so you never know. Okay, so in issue number 3, Eustacia has just fallen through the floor, and she's on the level below, surrounded by debris, and she wakes up and realizes she is in the room that is rumored to house the actual Rings of Vale. And she does locate the Ring of Fortune just before Just Lucky and Detta betray them. And poor Eustacia, she has a great moral compass. She says, am I the only one who understands that murder isn't a responsible solution? So everyone else pulling out their blasters, ready to shoot him up, and Eustacia's just like, guys, stop. Come on now. So things go really south. Ronan Tag ends up blowing up the entire Lost City of Vale, leaving Eustacia extremely distraught. She says, centuries of history, my faith in any of you, and my life's work were all just vaporized. But she sits in this for a little bit, she feels the pain, and then with that confidence and determination, she stands up and she decides, I'm going to work with Aphra. We're going to figure out a plan. We're going to get out of this. We're going to get those rings back from Ronan Tag. So he doesn't incinerate them in his incineration chamber because he's the last person to have touched them. So Aphra's plan, she doesn't let Eustacia in on the whole thing, which is kind of scary because Aphra in this issue, the particular issue where this happens, she seems really mean and scary, and she tells Ronan, put the rings, the 2 rings, on Eustacia and make her go in your incineration room, and let's test them out. Let's see if the rings work. Let's see if they save her from incineration. Really scary situation. Eustacia doesn't realize that Aphra was going to do this to her, but Aphra, before all this happened, went and hacked into the incineration room's controls and made it such that it did not incinerate anything. It just looked like it was incinerating stuff. So everything's okay. They end up with Ronan Tag supposedly dead, and it looks like the day is saved, and they have artifacts that will hopefully get Eustacia reinstated at the Shadow University. So Aphra says, I'm not good at this, trusting people, or showing that I care. That's not really my speed. But any of these artifacts is enough to get you reinstated at the Shadow University. 2 or 3, you're back on track for tenure. Eustacia says, ha, you really do care. Thank you. Oh, so they end up being friends in the end. It's super sweet, and I want to know where it goes from there, but turns out they're friendly with each other, they part ways, and seem to never see each other again, which is really sad, because I wanted to know more about Eustacia's background. I wanted to know about their relationship. But, you know, hopefully we'll get to see some of that in the future. I don't know. Maybe she'll show up again. So, comment down below on what you think about Eustacia Okka, Doctor Eustacia Okka, the archaeologist after the Rings of Vale. Yeah. And remember to come back next Monday at 6 p.m. Central for new content. And remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at AliaMorgaine, and peruse my blog at thestarsreview.blogspot.com. May the Force be with you.